So when we talk about the Quran, do you know why it is very difficult to translate? Because it comes with such a conciseness and eloquence of the language has so much meaning within it that people can easily, if they miss the understanding that is being intended, and then give you a total different meaning. To give you,
even in this day and age.
Please. To explain this a bit further. The Quran in one place says about the Prophet, very early language of the Quran. Okay? وَثِيَابَكَ فَطَهِّرْ, and purify your clothes. That's the word thiyab is used. If you ask a modern day Arab, what does it mean? He'll say, and let him purify his clothes. God is asking about the Prophet. But this word thiyab has other languages during that time in the classical Arabic. It doesn't only mean clothes. Okay? So if it also refers to the internal state, your heart, your qalb, for example, and the Quran is, Allah is saying, and purify your heart. Okay? Then you would say, okay, it may also mean this. So we are talking about words that have been chosen by Allah in such a way to express in this magnificent form of meaning, which may mean several things equally. Which of the meaning? So when the translator chooses to translate, they will choose to translate from what the person understands from the immediate text, from the context. So if you, as an Englishman, want to read the Quran and try to understand this, what you should do is this simple. Instead of relying on one particular translation, consult several English translations. There are more than 40 available, I think, online, in English. But of course, some of the translations will be sectarian, biased, having a biased view of how they're translating it. But if you get translations which focuses on the language, on the rhetoric, on the meaning, and gives you the understanding how Muslims generally believe, rather than say a Jewish professor translating it or a secular liberal translating it, they will translate with their particular, some understanding of things, right? So you cannot then say, I'm out of confusion. I don't know how to understand this Quran, because you can get the meaning. When the Quran says, there is no God except Him, La ilaha illahu, no one can come and translate. That means, He can also be God too. There is no room, there is no ambiguity. So the context of things that we are Muslim referring to, where things are revealed, for example, to give an example, God and His Messenger is free from the obligations, this covenant they had. Now travel freely. I'm just going to not quote the whole thing, but important aspects of these few verses. Now travel freely for 4 months. On the 4 months is over, go and kill the infidels wherever you find them. Lay them with each ambush and so on and so forth. But if they resist, then escort them to the place of safety if they surrender and so on. Right. This is in chapter 9. Now, the way it's addressed, if you read even translations, it says God and His Messenger is free from obligation. Bara'atun min Allah Rasul. God is free from obligation that you had with the mushrik. You had with the mushrik. You, who's you? And who are the mushrik? Is it speaking about us? Did I have a covenant, a treaty, a pact with the idolaters, with the infidels? No, I don't. So it's talking about a historical event. So we need to know the historical event associated with this description. So that's where the context comes along from history. That context could be given information in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. It could be written in the books of the biography of the Prophet, or books of maghazi, what we call the books of wars that have been penned by historians.
We're going off the subject though.
No, we're talking about how context is established.
Yeah.
Context is established.
It's not just that. Okay, we agree on the context.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I've seen other people debating, we go back to the original statement.
Yeah.
I'm going to go next.
why is it even now we still get the same replies? I don't
Give me a difference they're debating in the Quran. Just to highlight an example.
I'd have to get YouTube out of that.
No, it's important to highlight an example of how Muslims are still debating today. And then we can talk about the reason why. The fundamental teaching that Allah has given in the Quran, everyone agrees, whether you are a Sunni or a Shia or a Sufi.
So why do we still see people say, I'd have to go to a scholar to tell me what that means, even now?
Give an example.
Because if it's been translated so many times, and you've got 4 books of the translation, surely at some point, someone would get together and go, right, we need to standardise all these, because there's fractions, there's arguments.
There is no standardization necessary. Do you know why it was not necessary?
But then you're never going to get the true. You're never going to get the true meaning unless you. Because someone's got.
I'll clarify the same example I've given.
Yeah.
The example about fighting the idolaters who had a treaty with the Muslims. Then, when they broke the treaty, these pagan idolaters, Allah and Prophet was instructed to say, now because the treaty is over, you are now back in a state of war. Give them 4 months to travel.
Yeah.
When the 4 months are over, then you can actually go and fight them. Not before that. So people, if they didn't go and learn about the historical event, because the Quran doesn't give you that history in that particular few verses, few ayat. It doesn't tell you, oh, it's referring to the Pact of Hudaybiyah, it's referring to the pagans that were that. Do you follow? So ordinary person without the background knowledge, reading that translation only without the footnotes, without the explanations, they would need to resort to who? An explanation provided to give you the background. That explanation is...
Need a teacher even now to explain?
Let's explain. Watch this, if you don't mind, Brother Mansur. If you have a surgeon, right, and he hasn't got his, what is it called, PhD or whatever you call it, but he's trained to be a surgeon, would you let him operate on you? He hasn't got his PhD.
Yeah, but that's not the same thing.
I'll explain why it is. I'll explain why.
Okay,
I'll explain why. Now, the fact of the matter is, as Brother Mansur said, anyone can read the text, and the text says, okay, go from here and stand here, and you'll get this.
Yeah.
Now, the guy goes there, he stands there, and he gets nothing. He doesn't understand why. Do you know why? Because he doesn't know the historical background of it. Yeah? Now, he goes to a scholar, and the scholar explains, you're not supposed to stand here, you're actually supposed to stand there. You understand? The fact of the matter is, just by reading it, you might not know everything behind that situation. Just like a surgeon, just because you've trained to be a surgeon, but you haven't got your PhD, you're not ready.
But the PhD is written of accepted testing. It's been accepted that the fact this one's true.
Yes.
So the person that's teaching you is going off one explanation. And so he wouldn't then. So you go to that teacher, that's fine. Yeah. So this surgeon will get to the point where he no longer needs to go there.
Yeah.
So this is the point what I'm saying. So when he gets to the point where he's got his PhD and he's free to do whatever, he will not then need to go to that teacher because he will be the teacher.
Correct.
So the point is now, my point is this.
Yeah.
So there's a time frame on where you get to the point where this is standardised, this is what you do
where
to
you're
get
educated.
to A and B.
Where you're educated.
Right, So my question is, I think I'm not saying it properly.
Yeah.
The question is, even after all the scriptures have been confirmed, you've got different mosques and you've got different interpretations.
What are they differing?
And different sentences mean one or the other. That's fine.
No.
I appreciate that.
This is where.
But then, okay, then. So it is because the other week the guy says I'm not educated enough to explain what that
I'll
meant.
just say this and he'll go back to you.
So I don't know what that means.
you
So what I'm saying is now, even today, we're still not understanding what that sentence.
I'll clarify.
So you have to go to a teacher.
No.
Any other
I'll just clarify that part. I understood what you said. But the issue there is, I think the answer hasn't been understood either. What Brother Mansur is saying, that the actual standardization of Islam happened when Prophet Muhammad ﷺ came. What that means is, the basics of the religion are in a straightforward format. What you're talking about is our own people today, for example, Muslims, might not be educated in their religion. That's the issue. Not the teachers. The teachers are educated. And they might have an opinion. They know which opinions they can differ on and which ones are set in.
Okay.
Which ones are set in stone. Now the fact of the matter is, the major differences are nothing that are going to be like, can you kill this guy or can you not kill this guy, for example?
So then,
and I'll let you go back to Brother Mansur.
So what you just said then, so why is the 4? You just said there may be 4 differences in the transcript.
No.
Or multiple.
So I think this is where the confusion came.
Yeah,
Right.
this is about, yeah.
Okay. As Muslims, we're supposed to learn. We're supposed to. The very first revelation that came to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Do you know what it was? Iqra. Read, proclaim, recite. From the very moment the Prophet received his first revelation,
Exactly where I wanted to.
Prophets received revelation from God. This is an encouragement and a command to go and learn. And our Prophet ﷺ said that every Muslim, be they male and female, it's obligatory upon them to acquire knowledge. Of course, knowledge of the religion primarily, it is obligatory. So as you can see, the importance provided in our Islamic religion, way of life. So if Muslims haven't learned and you ask them a question, what does the Quran say about this? They will, if they are sincere and if they are humble, they will say, I don't know. I have to go and ask someone who knows to explain that to you. Maybe this is what we've encountered.
Okay, so we're not, so somebody that's seen it from the outside. Okay, so I can't read Arabic, so I would need translation.
Yeah.
Then I'm told there can't be the translation for certain words that aren't in our language, which is fine. But then there would be a standardized word that everyone accepts to fill into that gap. So it makes no difference of the context, because everyone would agree when you're rewriting this book or the translation of it, it would mean this. So everyone agrees it would mean this, like me and you and thee. Then it would be, if I read that, and then it would say, but you've read that out of context.
No,
I gotta say, you've read it. You've not read the full verse to understand what the whole meant. So then,
Just want to
if you're
add
writing
one point to that
you
one.
would have documented it in a certain way that there would be no. It could mean this, could mean that. It would just mean this. And that's what I mean by standardising the language.
My friend,
standardising the thing. Do you understand what I mean?
The particular example I gave, it said Muslims had a treaty. Now, the treaty is not named, right? You cannot expect every single translation to have this explanation within the text. Some translators translate exactly as the text is, and they leave it to that. Other translators may put a footnote and say, this refers to this particular treaty. Other translators may give you a whole explanation about what treaty it was, who were the involved parties, and what was the condition of the treaty and the points of the treaty. Explanation given. What time period it was, whether it was broken or not. The text remains the same when it's translated. If you wanted to know the fuller, in-depth meaning of the historical context associated with it, you have to go and find a translation which gives you more information, right? Right. So there is no question about standardization, because standardization means what? That you have one standard translation and everyone follows. You will say, look, with this explanation, now the translation is this big. I want a concise translation which is this big.
No.
To give you an example,
That's not what I mean.
Recently there is a translation that came up called the Study Quran. Study Quran. It's quite massive, and it gives you a lot of explanation in the footnotes. There are other translations which gives you footnote explanations.
Right.
Others which don't. So if you ask me, okay, what do you recommend? For you, if I recommend you, for example, Professor Abdul Halim's translation, for example, Daryabadi translation, and you will see that they are translating it with an audience of English-speaking people in mind. They're translating from what in mind? The linguistic nuances that are there within this text. They're translating from the background that will help, for example, a Jew or a Christian to understand this text. So there are many.
Does it help me, as a non-Muslim, to listen to someone explain a certain verse or a certain sentence, as in what we just talked about, which is completely false, but I don't know that.
Which one? Sorry.
It's a conversation. It's on YouTube. Where,
What is it?
Modine was doing a.
Who is Modine?
Modine, I think
One
the
of the
Shia
guys,
guy is talking about, the brother.
So he said he was giving dawah to this person. I don't know who he was. They weren't on camera. So he was explaining all the verses and he was.
I suppose he's a scholar here, or
I'm going to say,
is it?
hang on a minute. But this is the point.
Okay.
Should you be letting then people that are freely speaking give completely the wrong idea?
Okay.
So
This is-
what happened then was, I think it was Shamsi, I just spoke to him afterwards and basically said, everything you just said was wrong. You shouldn't be saying that. Why have you said that? And he explained. He goes, no, that's totally wrong. So he literally went back on everything that the other guy said. So my point is, where's he got his information from? And would that be the same information that I would have read, which could be wrong? So that's what I'm
let me
saying.
speak to you frankly.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, blatantly.
Yeah, go for it.
When Muslims come here to speak on behalf of Islam, to let other people know about Islam, what we believe and what
Yeah.
our text says,
Yeah.
you would expect the person to do this would have an adequate knowledge, sufficient
That's what I'm
knowledge
saying, yeah.
to do this, right? If you don't have this sufficient knowledge, should you be coming? The answer is no. Should you be speaking? The answer is no. So if you didn't know anything about, for example, imagine now I want to explain to you about surgery, and I have zero knowledge about
Yeah.
how human, physiology, where your heart is. Imagine I think your heart is here or here, or is it at the back? Kidneys, kidneys maybe just behind your heart, or is it just below, or is it here? Imagine I had no knowledge of it, and I'm discussing with you how to do a good surgery for a kidney operation.
Yeah.
You would say I'm making a mess about things. I'm just
Only if I did know better.
right. So it is crucial for Muslims who are going to come here to have the basic knowledge that they're going to speak about. It is not sufficient to say I only know one ayah and I speak, then speak about that ayah only. Why do you go everything else? Oh, you talk about history, you talk about theology, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah shaykh. You talk about economics, you talk about crime and punishment when you don't know anything about it. We should need to know about limitation. You might be passionate about it.
Yeah.
That's one thing, knowledge. Second thing, are you doing it the appropriate way? Or are you using the most vulgar of language? I mean, I see people coming here now becoming YouTube celebrities, like some people, right? And the way they talk and every time F words and this word and that word. What are they talking about? They come here for, I don't know, personal reasons.
Same.
This is not why, Muslims should have a discussion with a non-Muslim on Islam. If you want to, your personal reason you want to discuss, why talk religion? If you want to talk religion, if you want to talk about Islam, it's common sense. Understand and learn about what you're talking about. I am not going to talk about, say, something about deep in history when you have no
But
knowledge
you
about.
agree that this happens in the park?
No,
A lot.
this happens in the park a lot.
Yeah.
People, I'm sure they're being advised. If they don't follow their advice, what can I say? No one regulates the park. There is no,
It's a good
brother,
question,
my
Boyd.
friend. There is no such thing as an Islamic Dawah team in Speaker's Corner, like some of the Christian preachers are trying to prove. There is no Islamic Dawah team because there is no organized team that you are a member of Islamic Dawah team. I can see why your hatred comes in. Why? There is not.
That's
See how he
Okay.
thinks.
Okay.
I don't care.
When you say Islamic Dawah team, okay.
He makes it.
Excuse me.
Up to now, he's
Islamic Dawah team means Islamic missionary teams, right? Fine. What is his team?
But you will have people
One
who
moment,
giving dawah.
one moment,
Would you admit that?
one moment.
Would you admit that?
Excuse me, one moment.
Would you admit it though?
Please. The so-called Islamic Dawah team Speaker's Corner. What is that team? Who are the members? Is there an organization? Do they have an appointed person who oversees, like a chair? Do they meet regularly? Do they have training sessions, teaching sessions? Okay, where is it?
in the mosques.
Which mosque?
Hanwell.
Hanwell. And who are the members of Islamic Dawah team?
Look, This is semantics.
No, it's not
because
semantics.
You know that I'm not in the mosques to
Excuse
know
me,
the names.
who are the members?
But you know this. But you know.
Am I a member of that Dawah
When I
team?
speak to people who've come, say from
excuse me.
Kuwait, and they
Am
ask
I a
the
member?
same
Okay.
question.
Am
They ask
I-
the same questions?
Am
because
I a
they've
member
all-
of that Islamic
they've
Dawah team?
all come and they've been told which questions to
excuse
ask.
me.
All of them.
Excuse
from
me.
different countries around the world.
My friend.
It's organised.
My friend.
Until
This is Sheikh Mohammed.
You've been saying things correctly.
One moment.
And I respected you for
One
it.
moment,
But
my
when
friend.
you lie, you've got to stop.
Mike.
And I will challenge you on your lie.
Okay. Am I a member of that Islamic Dawah team?
Yes.
So, I don't even know where Hanwell is.
That's all right.
So do I go to that mosque?
Plenty of mosques. You see, this is where the diversion
Did you not say
starts.
that?
You see?
Okay.
And
Are you a
I
member of
often
the Islamic
call
Dawah
the
team from
English
Hanwell?
Yes.
because it just
You
No,
are.
not that
goes
Hanwell. No,
on
not
and on,
Hanwell. I don't
but
know
he
what's
won't
Hanwell.
face-
Exactly.
he won't face
So
it.
now,
So it goes
do you
on
see
and
the
on.
problem?
Diversion.